Hello and very warm welcome at Amish Cycle 5858. I am Amish Cycle. Foreign news have been reported by American, European, Asian, African, Australian news channels and the news agencies. So please let's go to the headlines.
That is the sound of a gunfire inside. Police pouring over this live stream of the game that captured the horrific scene at the Dennis Lynch Arena in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. The gunfire, the panic tonight, at least 2 people killed. Authorities believe the shooter then took his own life. The gunman opening fire during the first period of the game with players on the ice, families in the stands. The FBI and ATF on the scene at this hour, and ABC's Rhiannon Alley leading off tonight.
Tonight, the horror unfolding at a high school hockey game. Shots, running, and ice.
We have 1 shooter down. We have 5 injured.
Authorities racing to the scene at the Dennis Lynch Arena in Pawtucket around 2:30 p.m., finding multiple victims. Late today, officials say they believe the suspect may have been targeting his own family.
It appears that this was a targeted event, that it may be a family dispute.
Witnesses describing the chaos.
It was a very, scary moment definitely for the parents. It was a bang. I thought it was her pops. I thought it was balloons at first, but it was not balloons.
At least 3 people were wounded. David, officials say all the players in that hockey game are safe tonight. The investigation is now underway as the FBI is assisting local authorities. David?
Rhiannon Alley leading us off tonight. Rhiannon, thank you. There are also new developments tonight of the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie. Late today, the sheriff saying all family members have been cleared in her disappearance, aware of the online chatter and speculation surrounding this case. Tonight here, investigators on a possible break in this case, that male DNA found on a glove, and Savannah Guthrie, the pain evident on her face, with a new post to the person who took her mother, as they now begin week 3 without their mother. Here's our chief investigative correspondent, Aaron Kotursky, in Tucson again tonight.
Tonight, with the search for Nancy Guthrie now entering its 3rd week, and with the country still praying she's found, her daughter Savannah is making a direct appeal to the person who took her mother. 2 weeks of pain evident on Savannah.
On this Tuesday night, the Prime Minister's Buy Canadian Defence Plan, the multi-billion-dollar proposal to beef up Canada's military muscle.
We've relied too heavily on our geography and others to protect us.
A delightful deja vu, the Canadian trio striking Olympic gold again. Shots fired inside a hockey rink. The terrifying moments a youth hockey game in the U.S. turned deadly. Canadians killed in Ukraine.
I'll be proud of that kid for the rest of my days.
One grieving father's dangerous mission to bring his son home. Plus, remembering a giant of the civil rights movement.
Because there is but one race, the human race.
Reverend Jesse Jackson's relentless lifelong fight for what he called the desperate, disrespected, and despised.
Global National on a freezing. Reporting tonight, Jeff Semple.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. Prime Minister Mark Carney unveiled his long-awaited defense plan today, a $6.6 billion proposal to beef up Canada's defense industry. The plan is focused on building more military equipment here at home, which the government says will create 125,000 jobs over the next decade, while also reducing our reliance on the United States. Jillian Piper reports on whether the government's Buy Canadian defense strategy can live up to the hype.
Touring a local military supplier, the Prime Minister mapping out the new direction of Canadian defence spending.
It's a bold plan for what they need when the
Strategies to ramp up Canadian defence manufacturing over the next decade, increasing domestic defence contracts from 43% to 70%, boosting exports by 50%, and adding 100 new jobs. But there are questions over how realistic goals are. And work close and advisory.
CVB with one of the bystanders who stepped in and prevented this from being even worse. Tonight, the nation remembering a civil rights giant, Reverend Jesse Jackson, passing away at the age of 84.
Our flag is red, white, and blue.
Arrow, gravel, suit, ripping away from what man, and the busy day for USA, and there's news coming in on Lindsey Vonn. We'll go right to Italy.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight. Dave New York.
Good evening. We begin tonight.
On this Tuesday, by Canadian defense plan, the multi-billion-dollar proposal to beef up Canada's military muscle.
We relied to have others to protect.
A delightful deja vu. The Canadian trio striking Olympic gold again. Shots fired inside a hockey rink. The terrifying moments a youth hockey game in the U.S. turned deadly. Canadians killed in Ukraine.
But I'll be proud of that kid for the rest of my days.
One grieving father's dangerous mission to bring his son home. Plus, remembering a giant of the civil rights movement.
Because there is but one race, the human race.
Reverend Jesse Jackson's relentless, lifelong fight for what he called protected by.
Global National with Donna Friesen. Reporting tonight, Jeff Semple.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. Prime Minister Mark Carney unveiled his long-awaited defense plan today, a $6.6 billion proposal to beef up Canada's defense industry. The plan is focused on building more military equipment here at home, which the government says will create 125,000 jobs over the next decade, while also reducing our reliance on the United States. Jillian Piper reports on whether the government's Buy Canadian defense strategy can live up to the hype.
Are you going there?
Touring a local military supplier, the Prime Minister mapping out the new direction of Canadian defense spending.
It's a bold plan to get our armed forces what they need when they need it.
The $6.6 billion strategy pledges to ramp up Canadian defense manufacturing over the next decade, increasing domestic defense contracts from 43% to 70%, boosting exports by 50%, and adding 125,000 new jobs. But there are questions over how realistic those goals are.
They certainly sound great, but I don't think they're that feasible or that achievable in the long term.
Protect Canada's sovereignty.
It's all part of Ottawa's promise to increase defense spending to 5% of GDP over the next decade and work more closely with European and Indo-Pacific allies on security in an effort to reduce reliance on the U.S., our country's largest military supplier.
We've relied too heavily on our geography and others to protect us. This has created vulnerabilities that we can no longer afford.
Some of Canada's defense contractors say they are confident they can meet demand in new markets, but federal changes are needed.
If there's one thing that we caution about in this whole strategy is it could be undermined if the current procurement system persists.
To help make that pivot, Ottawa is creating a new defense investment agency, which the government says will speed up contract approvals. But the Conservatives argue that move will result in more red tape.
Mr. Carney's solution? Create more bureaucracy. Agencies, councils, units, and other bureaucracies that will actually gum up and slow the system down.
The government says only about half of Canada's maritime, land, and aerospace defense fleets are operational, Jeff. With this strategy pledging to get those numbers between 75 to 85% over the next decade.
All right, Jillian Piper in Ottawa. Thanks, Jillian. Turning to the Olympics now. After missing the top of the podium in the first week, Canada has now added 3 golds in 3 days, the latest coming at the speed skating oval. Mike Armstrong is in Milan for us covering the games. So, Mike, does this mean our Olympic curse is finally broken?
Yes, it does, Jeff. And this one was fun to watch, not just for the competition, but there were some serious smiles during O Canada. There was pressure going into the final. There was none after it. The 3 women who won the gold medal Tuesday in team pursuit were the same trio that won the event in the last Olympics. They came into this race as defending champions. The weight of expectation wasn't a problem with the Canadian team coming from behind for the win, although they didn't know it at first.
It was a nice surprise. I didn't know. I was just looking at you and I just make sure I push and we cross the line.
The podium was personal for Monday's Canadian gold medalist as well. Not only did Megan Olam have family and her closest friends on hand to see her win the big air event, but it was also a moment to remember the work she's put in. Oldham finished just off the podium in 4th at the last Olympics. This time she won the gold to go with a bronze she won last week in slopestyle.
Wow, yeah, it's incredible. I think just being able to stand on the top of the podium is a totally different level of excitement. I did not expect to be Olympic champion, so that's really special.
One of the stories of these games has been Canadians Deanna Stellato-Dudek and Maxime Deschamps. Not only was Stellato-Dudek the oldest figure skater in the competition, and by far at 42 years old, she was also injured just prior to the games. They finished in 11th.
Now to another top Democrat facing fresh scrutiny. A resurfaced clip from the 1990s shows Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer backing ID checks to crack down on welfare fraud. Fast forward to today, and he's fighting voter ID requirements in federal elections. Take a look at then Congressman Schumer.
Let's admit the truth. Everywhere people go, they're asked for a social security card. In fact, one way to prove you're a bona fide person who can have a job is to ask for a driver's license and a social security card.
All right, let's bring in Missouri Republican Senator Eric Schmidt. It's amazing the way people evolve over time. How do you make...
Well, I think Chuck Schumer, in this specific instance, his journey on this is kind of indicative of the Democrat Party, which was sort of a top. That's it. It's like Democrat. They lost the argument with the American people. They're only left now. The only people that are being disenfranchised from that aren't the illegal immigrants and not people who prove who they are.
Champions League playoff game in Benfica with play suspended for over 10 minutes. Nigel Farage unveils his top team along with a promise to rip up the Equality Act. And lagging behind girls at school in every metric from primary education to GCSEs, why the UK's lost boys are in crisis. Hello and welcome. Jesse Jackson cried the night that Barack Obama was elected president. Now Obama has paid tribute, saying in his 2 historic runs for president, he laid the foundations for my own campaign to the highest office in the land. He said we stood on his shoulders. Our US correspondent David Blevins looks back on the life and legacy of the Reverend Jesse Jackson.
We must never surrender. We must go forward.
Articulate, impassioned, electrifying. He was the man who opened the door, the first African American to run for president of the United States.
Let's be bigger and better as a nation.
His campaign speeches emboldening the marginalized.
Hold your head high. Stick your chest out. You can make it.
Today, a man charged over a deadly random stabbing attack in Western Sydney. And leaders from around the world pay tribute to American civil rights pioneer Jesse Jackson, who's died at the age of 84. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Ross Charles.
Before they Jilly went rampant, Sydney went killing was has been charged with 1 count of murder and on the 8-man died at the scene, while a 47-year-old woman and a 21-year-old man suffered critical injury in a critical condition. The 25-year-old was arrested nearby a short time later, and this morning he was charged. He faced Parramatta local court today, where he did not apply for his release on bail. The court heard the man is also facing domestic violence-related assault charges a couple days before he was taken into mental health care, where he allegedly escaped their care while being transferred between hospitals. His matter has been adjourned until May.
26-year-old man has been killed and another is fighting for life after a truck crashed into a car while driving in the wrong direction on Queensland's Bruce Highway. Reporter Lottie Twyford has the details.
Police say a 26-year-old Caboolture man was on his way home when his car was hit by a truck travelling in the wrong direction in the northbound lanes of the Bruce Highway near Burpengary about 10:30 last night.
This is Asia Now.
It's 12 p.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 11 o'clock in Jakarta, and 9:30 in New Delhi. I'm Rani Samtani. At this hour, Donald Trump hails Japan's first batch of U.S. investments. The president in 2028. She's been
conflict. There are millions of children who had to flee from their homes several times, not only once or twice.
For adults in their families to unite them and offer them refuge if needed.
Some of the children are separated from the adults that they are moving together with. So part of our support is to make sure that we identify and support children and on tracing the adults in their lives and reunify them. It's about providing safe interior. This cannot be located. Need is also very important. Exploitation. And then when it comes to sexual violence, it's for us,
thousands of children in this region. Riddled with high crime rate, South Africa will now deploy army units alongside police within 10 days to tackle rampant crime fueled by drug gangs and illegal miners, the police minister confirmed on Tuesday. The move marks the latest in a series of tough measures by government to contain rampant crime in a country with one of the world's highest murder rates, averaging about 60 killings a day. Army and police chiefs have finalized the deployment plan, which will begin in the next 10 days. President Cyril Ramaphosa announced the deployment in a national address last week, saying troops would be sent to the Western Cape, home to tourist magnet Cape Town and Gauteng, which includes a financial hub, Johannesburg. Parts of Cape Town are triggered by daily rivalry between drug gangs fighting for turf, while illegal miners are active in the former gold fields of Gauteng. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan is in Ethiopia for his first official visit since 2015. He was received by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed with an elaborate ceremony at the presidential palace in Addis Ababa. The visit comes as Turkey and Ethiopia mark 100 years since the opening of the Turkish embassy in the capital.
Thank you for watching. I'm Shakil 5858. I hope you will come again. Have a good life. Bye-bye.